My name is Andrew. I'm 35 years old, and I live in a quiet suburb just outside of Eugene, Oregon. I never thought I'd be the kind of man to share something like this online, but I guess when your world falls apart, you start grasping for anything that might help you make sense of it, or at least let you breathe through the ache for a minute or two. Yesterday was supposed to be a good day. I met my fiancée, Leah, she's 34, at the vineyard where we plan to get married. It was our 4 months out meeting to finalize the details. We drove separately because she was coming straight from work. The meeting itself went smoothly, all smiles and soft touches. But toward the end, she said her friend Mia was dropping off a rental car nearby and needed a ride home. She asked if it would be okay for her to help. I said yes, of course. It didn't seem like a big deal. Mia lives just 10 minutes from our house. I've known her for years. I got home, fed our dogs, and waited for Leah. An hour passed, then another. I tried texting her, nothing. I called, straight to voicemail. By 1:30 in the morning, I was genuinely worried. I texted Mia to ask if she'd made it home okay. I figured maybe they were still together and just lost track of time. Leah finally came home around 2 a.m. She said, "Sorry, it took longer than I thought. I hung out with Mia for a bit before heading back." I told her it was fine, but to please just shoot me a text next time so I don't worry. She gave me a half-hearted smile and disappeared into the bathroom. 10 minutes later, Mia replied, "Hey, sorry, I never saw Leah tonight. Couldn't make it to the venue." I stared at the message for what felt like forever. My stomach sank. I asked Leah why Mia would say that if it wasn't true. She shrugged and said she couldn't control what Mia said, then walked outside to take a phone call. Something in me broke right then. I had never done this before, but I pulled up her phone records. I wish I could say I felt guilty, but I didn't. I was too shaken. I saw that right after stepping outside, she called Mia. That alone might have been nothing. But then I saw an hour-long call earlier in the evening to a number I didn't recognize, right before she arrived at the vineyard. When she came back inside, I asked where they'd returned the rental car, what place they used. I kept my tone light. She gave quick answers. I nodded like I believed her, but something didn't add up. The next morning, I asked her to show me the texts from Mia, the ones where she supposedly asked for the ride. I even said I'd apologize for doubting her. She refused. I brought up the call I saw her on when I passed her on the road yesterday. "Who was that?" I asked. She said it was a friend she picked up later on. That was the moment I knew for certain she was lying. I told her I'd seen the phone records. Her story changed immediately. "I met up with a coworker," she said. "It was about a patient." When I asked who, she said his name was Daniel and that she needed to demonstrate a technique in person. I asked to see the texts. She refused again. So I asked the real question, "Are you having an affair?" She froze. Then, she started listing everything that was wrong with me. I work too much. I don't spend enough time with her. I'm not emotionally present. It felt like she'd been rehearsing those words, storing them up for just the right moment to wound me. I was stunned. I'd never heard any of this before. After more back and forth, she finally caved and let me read the texts. They were devastating. Flirty, sexual, cruel. They laughed about me, mocked me, called me names I can't repeat here. She told him she wanted to be with him, that she loved him, that I was dead weight. I learned he's nearly 20 years older, divorced with 3 kids. They've been working together for 6 weeks. For the past 4 months, I've been covering all our bills so she wouldn't have to take on a second job. I didn't want her stressed. I thought I was being a good partner. We live in a house we bought together, out on a few acres with our 3 dogs and a horse. I thought we were building a life. I thought she still loved me. We're supposed to be getting married in 4 months. And now, I don't know what comes next. I don't know how to breathe in this new, hollow version of my life. All I know is that the woman I thought I knew is gone. And maybe she was never really here at all. I've read enough now to know there's no universal guide for how to move forward from something like this. The legal side of it, splitting property, the mortgage, the animals, even the logistics of canceling a wedding, that's all coming soon. And I know I'll need a lawyer, someone to help me navigate this mess without letting my heart cloud every decision. I can't pretend to have the answers, not yet. All I know is that I feel gutted. Some people online have said that maybe this was a blessing in disguise, that hearing the truth now is better than waking up 5 years into a marriage with a child or two and discovering it then. I know they're probably right. I just wish that truth didn't hurt so much. It's hard to feel lucky when your future has been yanked out from under you. There were a few comments that stood out. People telling me not to let Leah twist this into something that was my fault, that I need to stay grounded in the facts. She made a choice. She lied. She crossed a boundary she knew would destroy me. That has nothing to do with how many hours I spent in the office. It's not about my flaws. It's about her actions. I keep repeating that to myself, even though some nights it barely sinks in. Someone else mentioned the gray rock method and something called the 180, basically pulling back emotionally, disengaging, and refusing to feed into her drama. That hit home. For months, I've been carrying the weight of her struggles on my shoulders, covering her half of the bills, helping her stay afloat. Now I realize I need to stop, not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. Her relationship with the other man will likely crumble. The way it started, secretive, dishonest, built on tearing someone else down, it never ends well. But that's not my concern anymore. And when it does fall apart, I can't be the safety net she comes running back to. I've already started walking away, even if part of me still looks over my shoulder hoping this is all just a bad dream. One comment that really struck me was from someone who had gone through the same thing but found out after they were already married. They said the betrayal still haunts them, and that I was lucky to catch it in time. I don't feel lucky, but maybe one day I will. Maybe one day I'll wake up and the emptiness won't be so loud. Leah and I sat down last night to talk again. She walked in carrying the same weight of excuses, tried to spin the whole thing around. According to her, if I had just been more attentive, more available, more emotionally present, she never would have started talking to that man. She said I forced her into it, by not listening, by working too late, by being tired all the time. I tried to explain what those long hours were for. I wasn't working to get away from her. I was working to keep our heads above water, to make sure she didn't have to take on a second job while she got her career back on track. That didn't matter to her, though. She told me she'd rather have been working nights than feeling invisible at home. I don't even know how to respond to that anymore. She said it only lasted a week, that they kissed once, that nothing else happened. She looked me in the eye and said she thought we could move past it. But when I reminded her of the texts, the ones where she laughed about me, called me pathetic, told him she wanted to be with him, she had no answer, just silence, then deflection, then anger. I told her this wasn't on me, that no matter how unhappy she might have been, she had a choice. She could have come to me. She didn't. She went behind my back, lied, hid things, humiliated me. Trust doesn't survive that. Eventually, the conversation cooled. We talked about the house, what to do next. It's in both our names. It sits on 5 acres with the barn and pasture we built for the horse. And inside are 3 dogs who have no idea their world is about to change. That breaks me more than I thought it would. We agreed on 2 options. Either I stay and buy her out, or we sell the place and go our separate ways. One of us will take 1 dog, the other 2, still undecided. I don't know if I can keep this house, even though I can afford it on my own. It feels heavy now, like a tomb filled with memories I can't unsee. And this is where we left things tonight. Unfinished, quiet, and unbearably sad. The house feels too big now. Almost 3,000 square feet stretched across 5 lonely acres. Space we once filled with hope, laughter, plans for the future. We bought it so Leah could finally have her dream, a small pasture for a horse she'd grown up picturing. Now she's taken the horse with her and is boarding it at a nearby barn. That part wasn't up for debate. I didn't fight it. How could I? But every time I walk past the empty stable, the silence is deafening. What breaks me even more are the dogs. 3 of them, each with their own bond. They were a little pack, inseparable, joyful. Now that we've agreed to split them, one of them is going to feel that loss deeply. They all will. But the one who's left behind, alone, I think about that too often. Tonight, Leah and I had another long talk. 3 hours, give or take. It started like the others, with her calmly pointing out everything I did wrong. She said I wasn't present, that I worked too much, that I was always on my phone. I didn't argue. I've heard those words before, just not from her. Not until now, when the damage has already been done. She's not wrong, at least not entirely. I've been running an e-commerce business on the side, and since I handle every customer service request myself, it means I'm always on. Emails at midnight, chat support over dinner. There's no clocking out. And when she was struggling with work, I pushed harder. I didn't want her to feel pressured to pick up a second job, so I picked up the weight for both of us. Maybe I should have set my phone down more often. Maybe I should have looked her in the eyes more, told her I missed her even when we were sitting in the same room. I don't know, but here's what I do know. She never told me how she felt. Not once. Not until after she'd already decided to seek comfort somewhere else. She said she didn't bring it up because she thought I'd be upset, that I wouldn't want to hear it. But I was never given the chance. That's what hurts the most. She didn't trust me enough to try. I'm not perfect. I say things that don't always land right. A couple weeks ago, she mentioned she was behind financially, again, and I offered to help her figure out a budget. I do this sort of thing all the time for clients in my field. It wasn't meant to be condescending. She told me she owed me around $1,000, but I knew it was more. So I pulled up the transfers I'd made into our joint account. It totaled over $5,000. I didn't bring it up to shame her. I just wanted her to see how much I'd been trying to support her. I wanted to remind her that we were a team. She didn't take it that way. She said I'd embarrassed her, that I made her feel small. She told me I've been obsessed with money lately. But in my mind, I was just trying to make sure we were okay. Trying to make sure we had enough to cover the wedding, the bills, the future we were supposed to be building. What haunts me is how she keeps tying my flaws directly to her betrayal. Like she's building a case to explain why this happened. As if hurting me was inevitable. As if she had no other choice. She told me she's shocked I'm willing to throw away 7 years over this. I had to remind her that I didn't throw anything away. She did. She made the choice to lie, to cheat, to leave me in the dark. She also said I told too many people too quickly, that we should have handled this privately. But after reading the texts she sent that man, the things she said about me, I couldn't hold it all in. I needed people around me. I needed to not feel so alone. From what I've pieced together, it started about 2 weeks before I found out. Flirty texts, then a meeting at the park. Basketball, she said. A walk. A kiss. She swears it didn't go further, but I've lost the ability to take her at her word. Tonight, she left again. Didn't say where. I assume she's with him, or with a friend who doesn't ask too many questions. This house isn't just awkward anymore, it's heavy. Every room echoes with something unsaid. I think she still wants me to forgive her, to try again. She keeps bringing up communication as the root of it all. But communication doesn't excuse betrayal. Silence doesn't justify lies. I fell into a routine, yes, we both did. Our life wasn't flashy, it was ordinary. But I thought that was okay. I thought love could live quietly. I didn't know she needed it to shout. And now, she's left behind not just a broken promise, but a version of myself that may never fully trust again. Lately, I've been trying to regain some sense of control, even if it's just over small things. I started going back to the gym this week, not because I'm trying to reinvent myself, but because I need something to focus on, something that gives structure to the endless hours of silence. I'm forcing myself into a routine. It's the only way I know how to stay afloat. I also dusted off my CFP study materials again. I'd been putting off finishing that designation for months. There was always something else to do. Now, there's just space, empty evenings and half-eaten meals, and a quiet that no playlist seems to fill. I took this week off from work to breathe, to think, to not spiral. But even that feels like a luxury I don't deserve. Today, I called the vineyard and officially canceled our wedding date. It hurt more than I expected. They were kind on the phone, said they'd try to resell the date to another couple, but chances are slim. We'll get a small portion back, but most of it is gone, lost to a version of my life that no longer exists, a celebration that will never happen. I also reached out to her parents again. They live in Idaho, and though they've always been kind to me, I know this whole thing must feel like a train wreck from afar. I told them Leah's okay, that everything is calm. I didn't mention the texts. I didn't mention the silence between us. I didn't want them to worry more than they already are. It's strange, still feeling like I need to protect her from pain she caused. As for the house, I've done the math. With how high interest rates are now, I wouldn't be able to find anything close to what we have here for the same mortgage. In fact, I'd be lucky to get a decent apartment in town. It makes the decision harder. This home, these walls, they hold so much, good and bad. I think the best option is to try and buy out her share. Let her find an apartment of her own. She seems open to it. We've agreed to bring in an appraiser soon to evaluate the property. I'll have to see if I can afford her half of the equity without stretching myself too thin. If I can, maybe I'll stay. Maybe I'll try to make peace with the ghosts. I asked the people online if any of this changes their view, if I'm handling things the right way, if there's something I've missed. The feedback was honest. Some of it stung, but most of it made sense. One person said, "I need to stop giving Leah a platform to justify her cheating. That every time she blames me for what she did, it gives her power she doesn't deserve. That she chose to cheat. She chose not to talk, not to fight for us like an adult. And I keep reminding myself, there's no scenario where this is on me." Another person pointed out that Leah has only admitted to what I already know, that she's probably still hiding pieces. The term they used was trickle-truthing, revealing just enough to make herself look better while still withholding the worst of it. They said if someone can't tell you everything, even when they know it'll hurt, you'll never have real trust. I believe that now, and I hate that I do. They also mentioned something I hadn't heard before, DARV, deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. It's what Leah's been doing since the beginning, telling me I worked too much, that I wasn't emotionally available, that she had no choice but to find comfort elsewhere. As if I handed her a permission slip and said, "Go break me, I deserve it." Even now, when she knows she's about to lose everything, she continues to choose him. Or at least she continues to protect what they had, defend it. Anyone else in her position, anyone who truly feared losing their partner, would be trying to make amends, not excuses. She says, "I'm throwing away 7 years." But I didn't throw anything away. She did. She threw away loyalty, honesty, the foundation of everything we built. She looked at what we had and chose to risk it all for someone she barely knew, someone who hasn't lived in our world, walked our path, earned our love. And now I'm left trying to salvage the ruins while she walks away like it was never home to her at all. The foundation of our relationship, whatever it once was, feels like it's dissolved into the mud. What was once solid, built on shared goals, soft touches, inside jokes, has now sunk into something rotten and unstable. And worst of all, I find myself questioning whether any of it was ever real. That's what betrayal does. It doesn't just break trust, it breaks memory. It casts doubt on the very moments that once made you smile. And Leah, whether she realizes it or not, has been feeding that doubt, subtly, consistently. This is what people warned me about. When cheaters get caught, they don't always come clean. They manipulate the aftermath, twist the narrative, make it seem like you drove them to it. They'll point to every flaw you didn't know you had, every moment you were tired or distracted, and they'll say, "See, that's why I did it." It's cruel, it's calculated, and it's all designed to make you play the game, beg for another chance, apologize for not being enough, try to win back someone who was already gone. I'm done playing. I'm not perfect, but I didn't deserve this. And I sure as hell won't chase someone who gave my love away behind my back. Canceling the wedding was just the beginning. Calling the venue, the vendors, the officiant, watching them all refund what they could, hearing their condolences, it was like uninviting myself from the future I thought I was headed toward. But it had to be done. It was my first real step forward, even if it felt like a step off a cliff. Now, there's only one thread left connecting us, the house. Once that's sorted, whether I buy out her share or we sell and split the equity, I need to make it clear, she will be out of my life completely. No check-ins, no updates, no friendship. Whatever bond we had died the moment she chose someone else and tried to convince me it was my fault. So no, I'm not throwing away 7 years. That choice wasn't mine. I'm just here cleaning up the wreckage. From now on, I plan to keep all communication strictly about the logistics, bank accounts, documents, appraisal reports. If she tries to tell me where she's living or how her new job is going, I'll shut it down. I've rehearsed the line in my head already. I no longer care. That's not my life anymore. And that hurts because I used to care so much. I still do, in ways I hate to admit. But caring doesn't mean accepting betrayal. It doesn't mean staying close to someone who's willing to carve your heart open and walk away like it meant nothing. I've spent a lot of time trying to understand the root cause of all this. Maybe I didn't listen enough. Maybe I missed the signs. But none of that justifies what Leah did. Not the secrecy, not the lies, not the way she made fun of me in her texts to him, like I was just a weight around her neck. This wasn't about miscommunication. This was about her flaws, her choices, her willingness to destroy something rather than speak up. She's sneaky. She always has been, in small ways. Half-truths, changing details in stories, disappearing for a while and brushing it off. I used to think it was harmless. I told myself, we all have our quirks. Now I see it for what it was. A warning I ignored. So yes, I'm moving forward. Even if it means dipping into my savings, cutting back, living lean for a while just to pay her out. I'll eat instant noodles every night if that's what it takes. Because the price of freedom, of peace, is worth every cent. When this is over, when the last check clears and the last signature dries, I will begin the long, slow work of becoming indifferent. That's the goal now. Not to heal completely, not to forgive, not to find closure. Just indifference. The ability to hear her name without a sting. To drive past the barn where her horse is boarded and feel nothing. To delete her number without hesitation. I'm not there yet, but I will be. And when I am, I'll know that I didn't let this break me beyond repair. I didn't let her write the ending of my story. She walked away. I'm the one still standing. And someday, that will be enough. Leah's older brother, Chris, had fallen on hard times about 2 years ago. He lost his job, struggled to provide for his wife and 4 kids, and had nowhere to go. I stepped in, not because I had to, but because it felt like the right thing to do. I let them move into one of the smaller rental properties I owned on the edge of Springfield. We signed a formal lease, and I charged them just enough to break even. The agreement was simple. They'd handle all maintenance, I'd leave rent low, and they'd have a roof over their heads. But the gratitude didn't last. It started with the water heater. Chris said it wasn't working fast enough for his family's needs. I told him to go ahead and replace it if he wanted, but I'd subtract the cost from that month's rent. He exploded, said he wasn't going to upgrade my property for free, that the old unit was outdated and it should have been my responsibility. From then on, he stopped doing maintenance altogether. And rent? It started arriving late. His excuses varied: school supplies, groceries, repairs he had to do for the house. I warned him more than once. Eventually, I reached a breaking point. The property was losing value, draining me financially, and mentally exhausting me. So I sold it to a developer who'd been eyeing it for months. No listing, no games. Just gone. Chris found out when he got the eviction notice. He called me, shouting that I was a selfish bastard for not offering to sell it to him first. I reminded him that he couldn't pay rent consistently. How was he going to afford a mortgage? He told me he had the money saved and had planned to make me an offer. I asked, "Then why didn't you pay rent?" He hung up. Then came the backlash. He trashed my name to family. A few cousins took his side, saying I should have warned him. I offered them a simple deal: clear the thousands he owed me, and then I'll listen to their judgment. No one took me up on it. My parents stood by me. They told me I never should have rented to him in the first place. Maybe they were right. I still feel awful for his wife and kids. They didn't deserve to be caught in the fallout. But I couldn't keep carrying the weight of his irresponsibility, not when my own life was already in pieces. What happened to Andrew isn't rare. Many people find themselves trapped between wanting to help family and needing to protect themselves. The line between compassion and self-sacrifice gets blurry, especially when guilt, love, and loyalty are involved. But there's a lesson here. Setting boundaries doesn't make you cruel. It makes you responsible. When someone repeatedly disrespects your generosity, your property, or your trust, you are not obligated to keep giving them chances. The hardest part is accepting that protecting your peace may come at the cost of disappointing others, or being labeled the villain. If you're in a similar situation, take steps early. Put everything in writing, no matter how close you are. Hold people accountable. Don't wait until resentment builds past the point of repair. And remember, enabling toxic behavior isn't kindness, it's permission. Andrew's story is a reminder that sometimes letting go of someone who takes advantage of you is the kindest thing you can do, for them and especially for yourself.